Good evening, I'm John Carter. Welcome to Poland Daily. The Central Anti-Corruption Bureau has detained 2 people involved in criminal procedures today. One of those people is a civic platform activist, Artur Wum, mayor of the Warsaw district, Włochy. The politician was caught red-handed right after accepting a bribe of 200,000 zloty.
Agents from the Warsaw delegation of the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau detained the mayor of Włochy district in the act of accepting a bribe of 200,000 zloty. The local government politician received money from a well-known developer in Warsaw, and in return he helped him obtain decisions favorable for the developer related to building conditions. The officers of the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau searched the mayor's office and the headquarters of the businessman's companies, where documents, binary copies, as well as data carriers were secured, which will constitute evidence in the case. The detained men were taken to the Warsaw District Prosecutor's Office, where they will hear allegations. Today, I applied for the suspension of the mayor of the Włochy District as a member of the Civic Platform. I am waiting for further information from the Prosecutor's Office and from the court. We will make further decisions after assessing the whole case in the form of statements from state institutions, not television.
The Polish Supreme Court has made a decision on an election protest filed by the Law and Justice Electoral Committee regarding the ballot count in the 75th district in elections to the Senate. The recount was not allowed and the court left the case without further action. Meanwhile, everything indicates that the first major challenge for the new set of senators will be the election of the Chamber Marshal. Both Law and Justice and the opposition believe that this function belongs to them.
The talks are underway, but are branded as a complicated puzzle by civic coalition politicians. That is the reason they still do not have a candidate from the opposition for Speaker of the Senate. Grzegorz Schetyna says that he is an optimist. Polish People's Party politicians say that the Senate should be regarded as a senior chamber, more serious, expressing reverence in all matters, not a scene of filibusters or fuss. The candidate who could guarantee such qualities in the higher chamber was not selected. For me, the situation is obvious. The Speaker of the Senate must be from the opposition, from the Civic Coalition, simply because of the seat count. The ratio is 43 senators from the Civic Coalition to the Polish People's Party 3 senators, and United Left 2. The choice seems obvious. I'm sure that the 51 senators from the opposition will elect an appropriate Speaker of the Senate who will be an example in leading parliament procedures as those need improvement in our lower house.
I hope that on November 12 we will joyfully elect a new Speaker of the House. I count on the opposition's solidarity in supporting one candidate. Today, the Senate is taken by the opposition and is being observed by the constituency. An exemplary Speaker of the Senate and the Presidium is to be expected. The candidate must be from the opposition. We are not going to agree on the candidate from the Civic Coalition because they are not the only party in the opposition.
Kandydatem Prawa i Sprawiedliwości na urząd marszałka jest Stanisław Karczewski. To jest absolutnie rzecz naturalna, bo przecież Prawo i Sprawiedliwość wygrało wybory do Senatu. Mamy najliczniejszą reprezentację, bo 48 senatorów i my jako senatorowie Prawa i Sprawiedliwości będziemy zgłaszać Stanisława Karczewskiego na urząd marszałka.
Everything will be finally resolved during the first session of the Senate, during which the Speaker, Deputy Speaker and the Presidium will be elected.
Posiedzenie zaplanowano na 12 listopada.
The President of Poland, together with his wife, visited the Netherlands today to participate in the 75th anniversary of the liberation of the city of Breda by the 1st Armoured Division of General Maciek.
The visit of Andrzej Duda and Agata Kornhauser-Duda to the Netherlands took place at a special moment of bilateral relations between the two countries, because this year we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations and the 75th anniversary of the liberation of the city of Breda by the 1st Armored Division under the command of General Stanisław Maciek. The Polish presidential couple met with the Dutch royal couple at the Royal Palace in The Hague and had a festive dinner together. Later, together with the King of the Netherlands, Willem Alexander, and his wife, they took part in ceremonies at the cemetery in Breda, when both couples laid flowers on the grave of General Maciek, as well as at the monument commemorating Polish soldiers killed in the battle.
The President of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, has announced that in the next few days, the lower house of the American Congress will decide whether there will be an impeachment of the US President Donald Trump.
This week, the House of Representatives is to decide on a formal vote on the impeachment of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. This would prevent the White House administration from blocking the investigation. This information was provided by Nancy Pelosi, the spokesperson of the lower house of the American Congress. The House has been following the facts, and the evidence has only made the president's own words on his call more appalling. This resolution will set up the structure for the next phase where the American people can hear those facts for themselves in open hearings. #TruthExposed. Pelosi had already announced that she wanted to hold Donald Trump accountable after the White House refused to cooperate in the Congress investigation into the Ukrainian scandal. The Associated Press agency received a letter from the House of Representatives spokesperson that she sent to Democratic congressmen. The leader of their group announced that the vote will eliminate all doubts as to whether the Trump administration must comply with congressional investigation requirements.
No, we will not allow the White House to delay our investigation. Any acts of obstruction like this, any effort to prevent the Congress and therefore the American people from learning more about the president's misconduct will merely build a public case for obstruction of Congress by this president.
Donald Trump was charged with exerting pressure on another country in order to persuade it to intervene in the U.S. presidential election. The investigation in this case concerns a controversial telephone conversation of the American president with the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, from July 25th.
We have learned that a president of the United States abused his power to coerce an ally that is fending off Russian occupation of its territory in order to get political dirt on an opponent.
And Adam Schiff went before Congress, and Adam Schiff, what he did will never be forgotten. He made up a conversation that was a phony fabrication, it was a fraud, and people shouldn't be allowed to get away. They say he has immunity because he's a member of Congress. People shouldn't be allowed to do that. That's a criminal act.
Okay. The voting is going to take place on Thursday.
Thank you very much for joining me here this evening at Poland Daily. I'm John Carter. Stay tuned after the break for Poland Daily weather. It's followed by the business, then it's the culture, the history, and finally the travel.
Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily Business Weather. The forecast for tomorrow for Poland will bring a fair cool autumn day. We can expect partly cloudy skies across the country and temperatures varying from 6 to 8 degrees. In Europe, we can expect to see snow in Moscow and rain in Paris, Bern, and Zagreb. Rome will see cloudy skies and a temperature of 23 degrees. Oslo, Athens, Ankara will see clear skies and temperatures varying from 5 to 24 degrees. The rest of the continent will see partly cloudy skies. The coldest spot on the map will be Helsinki at 2 degrees, while the warmest will be Lisbon at 21. That is all for now. I thank you for joining us, and I invite you to stay with us for further Poland Daily programming.
Poland Daily Business Edition. A few words about economical patriotism, and our expert in that field is Maciej Gnyszka of Business Associations. Sir, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Tell us a few more about this business patriotism.
Yeah, business patriotism, especially in Poland, is very vital, I think, because for many, many years we were living in different paradigm. We thought that free market, that the economy should be like this. We don't produce anything. We only buy, and we are happy that we can buy from Germans, from French, from Americans, and this is a free market. We don't produce anything, we don't export anything, we only buy. And of course, for people who spend many times in communism, it is a lot of fun to buy Western things after many years of using Russian things. But I think after 30 years of free market, it is high time to start produce something, to start to conquer Western markets.
Or at least make sure that you buy Polish because you are aware that, first of all, the money will go to Polish company, will oil the Polish economy machine. And the secondary issue in this case is that the products are actually better and the logistics chains are shorter than the products that you get from elsewhere.
It's more easy. It's easier to buy an apple 5 kilometers from Warsaw than from Germany.
This proverbial apple can as well be furniture, a piece, or some home appliances or things that Poland produces in a huge number.
I know one entrepreneur from Singapore, and he says that Chinese people love to buy Chinese tea, but they prefer Chinese tea which is branded by Singapore companies. Why? Because of lack of business patriotism. So the Singaporean company, she brands Chinese tea, and the Chinese tea branded by Singaporean company is 2 times more expensive, but it is branded. So
it brings to the memory the famous battle of kosher vodka.
Yes.
When the Poles were told that the kosher vodka is somehow better for your health than the ordinary ones, and there were several rabbis who were quarreling whose stamp is more kosher than
the other.
But that's a story from the 1990s. Now we are here, and you are actually trying to do something to promote the idea of economical or business patriotism.
Because what I think is the biggest problem of us, of Poles, is that we think about ourselves worse than others think about us. Only Romanians in Europe are worse than us in this discipline. And I think that having complexes about yourself is not a good idea for a person, but it is also a bad idea for a nation, also in an economic sense.
So, how do you want to change that notion?
We talk about it. We show people who have great success, who are successful.
You are organizing a meeting, basically.
Yeah, we are focused on the meeting, on mixing, on talking, and making business with each other. And the 3rd edition of Business Patriotism Congress, which will be held in Warsaw next month, is also one of the methods we make to change it.
Very decent goal. Maciej Gnyszka, Business Associations, was our guest, sir. Thank you very much for this conversation. And that was it for Poland Daily Business. Please check when and where this Business Patriotism Congress is going to take place. It's very easy to find out on the internet. That was it for Poland Daily Business.
Hello and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. The forecast for tonight will bring a very cool evening for the central regions of Poland, where we can expect clear skies and temperatures below 0. In the north, we can expect partly cloudy skies and temperatures of 1 to 4 degrees, while in the south we can also expect partly cloudy skies and temperatures varying from 0 to 2 degrees. Tomorrow, we can expect fair weather to greet the citizens of Poland, where we can expect partly cloudy skies across the country and temperatures of 6 to 8 degrees. In the next 3 days, the weather will stay more or less the same. Only on Saturday can we expect the southwest to see showers. That is all for now. I thank you for joining us, and I invite you to stay with us for Poland Daily Business.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maria Kądzielska, and this is Poland Daily Culture. Have you ever wanted to meet a real prince? Our today's guest, Jan Lubomirski, is the one. Thank you for being with us.
It's a big pleasure for me. Thank you.
Now he is organizing a great Lubomirski Music Festival. At first, let's see some shots of this event. Janek, actually, what is Lubomirski Music Festival and how did it all started?
This concept started actually 2 years ago by trying to revive the memory of my great-grandfather, Władysław Lubomirski. He was not only a sponsor of musicians, but also a person who was making music himself. He was a composer. Of course, he wasn't known that much as Szymanowski or other who he was supporting, but nevertheless he was playing quite a lot, and quite a lot of his plays were also put in the theaters at his time. The idea was to show how the mecenat of the aristocratic families was working in the past. Actually, we should come back to it because I think that the musicians now and the artists need sponsors, need mecenes who would help them. And that's why we are trying also to show it on this festival. So as I said, this was about 2 years ago when we decided with Agnieszka Skotniczna, who is the spiritus movens, I would say, of this festival, and her agency called Kameny. She helped us a lot, and I must say that she managed to meet me with incredible people such as Sebastian Perłowski, who is also one of the great spirits of this festival. He's incredible, he's a great artist, and we can always count on him. The other artists which are taking part, this is the very famous Małgorzata Walewska, for example, as everybody knows. She will be now, this year, singing in the Stanisławowski Theatre in Łazienki. I have the big pleasure being on the board of Łazienki Museum, so it gives me a real pleasure that we can cooperate. So the Princess Lubomirski Foundation and the Łazienki Museum and Director Wawer, who is helping us also a lot.
But let's learn more about Władysław Lubomirski, because he's not well known, but as I understand, he was your great-grandfather.
Just one time,
great-grandfather. Yes. And so he was a composer himself.
Yes.
What kind of music was he creating?
Władysław Lubomirski was one of 4 brothers. This is what I would like to say, because his other brother was also my great-grandfather. My grandmother and my grandfather were first cousins. There was a special dispensa of the Pope that they can marry. But they were both cooperating. Stefan Lubomirski was one of the sponsors of the Warsaw Philharmonic. He was giving money, among others like Cronenberg, to build the Warsaw Philharmonic. But Władysław Lubomirski was a person who was more into the artists. He was like the person who knew the artists. He was really a friend of Rubinstein, Szymanowski, Szeluto, Fittelberg, who was the chef of the Philharmonie, Różycki, Karłowicz. So this all were his protégés. And because he loved the music himself so much, he was very much involved also with creating the music. So not only he was by the creation when they were composing, but also he tried to compose. And Rubinstein was, for example, helping him because he didn't know how to write the notes on the beginning very well. So Rubinstein was like making some...
the crucial thing is to have a good teacher.
Exactly. For example, he was that good that after he created an operette, yes, which was played a few seasons in Vienna. He was keeping his name a little in the shadow because at that time he was using a special pseudonym, so he was Władysław Lirski. Yeah, a little similar to our name, but... and also he created an opera called Sitowia that he wrote the music, and the words were done by the very famous Kasprowicz, which was often a guest at our palace by Żywiec in Rajcza.
And this year is unique because you managed to move the festival to 5 cities.
Oh yes, it's actually international this year. Because we managed, and I must say again, Agnieszka Skotniczna, this is really an amazing work of her. She managed to do the festival in many cities and also abroad. So this time it's in Warsaw. It's beginning on the 17th, so this week, yes, on Thursday, exactly at 8 o'clock. There are still some seats, so please, welcome. Then we have the next part in Kraków, Lublin, Łańcut, which is in the castle of our family. I welcome also everybody. Their ex-castle of the family, yes. Now it's actually a very nice time because the castle is renovated, and the director, Wit Wojtowicz, who I like very much, he's an incredible person. I must say that he's doing an amazing job in Łańcut. And then it will be also in Lwów. So the place very much connected with Poland and of course with the time when Władysław was alive. This was part of Galicia, where we had most of our real estate. And by Lwów there was also a factory which was a property of my family. This was by Chodorów. The last concert will be in Vienna. So the beloved city of my great-grandfather, where he was always living in Zacher Hotel. And still when we go there, you can still see his picture, which is hanged on the wall as one of the major guests who was there. Because he had an apartment, like permanent apartment. It was just his house there.
Very nice. So everyone who would like to see and participate and be the guest of Lubomirski Music Festival, go online and get your tickets. It starts.
Please come.
It starts on the 17th of October. Thank you for watching Poland Daily Culture.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Poland Daily History. In the studio today, I'm delighted to have with me Anglo-Polish filmmaker Stefan Thompson. Stefan, welcome back.
Hello, Nicholas. Hi.
You obviously grew up in the United Kingdom, and of course there is a huge Polish diaspora in the United Kingdom. And I think now, certainly since Poland joined the European Union, it is probably the largest population of non-Britons in the United Kingdom.
And Polish has recently overtaken Indian as the second most spoken language in the United Kingdom.
Which is incredible when you think about it.
Incredible, and also, in a sense, I think very sad. It's one of those things that's very rarely discussed. When people talk about mass migration, the Polish presence in the UK, it's usually talked about as a sort of net benefit. I think it is a net benefit to the United Kingdom. Though broadly speaking, I oppose mass migration, and I also oppose mass migration of Poles to the United Kingdom. And I actually understand a lot of the complaints and reticence of certain Brits towards that migration, which is, I think, in many cases justified, especially in the case of various small towns which have become where Polish people, obviously, I mean, at the time when they came, the mass migration started in 2004, a lot of them were competing for the jobs of the British working class. So I understand the frustration of the British working class. And I think from a Polish perspective, from Poland's perspective, a great tragedy that we lost people that had been educated on the cost of the Polish taxpayer who left for the United Kingdom, and many of whom will never return, in my opinion, and many of whose children will never be Polish. So in that sense, I think that's one of these aspects that's very marginalised, but it is a great tragedy.
Yes, and that's something that folks seldom don't look at. They look at immigration from the arrival's point of view, but the folk never sort of consider what is left behind.
What is left behind.
And the effect. Yeah. Because it started well before 2004. I mean,
well before.
The first
in
phase,
fact,
probably.
The very first wave is pre-World War II, 1920s. There was a remnant, some of the very last of whom I met, or their children at least. Then there is the migration, the military migration. It's about 100,000 people after 45. Poles, I think, roughly.
Many of whom probably wanted to return to Poland, but because
many
the politics
of whom
didn't
were
allow
very,
that.
very keen to return to Poland. Several very tragic examples of Poles who chose to return, and some of whom it ended in tragedy for. And then we have successive waves, the waves in the 1970s and 80s, the solidarity waves, and in fact, very interesting tensions between that pre-war migration and the solidarity migrations, whereas one was sort of military and political, the other was sort of intellectual in nature. And then finally we have the illegal migration of the 90s. Again, we're talking about tens of thousands of people, and then finally 2004 and the entire period after that, and then officially the count goes to 965,000 Poles living in the United Kingdom, probably closer to 1.5 million, depending on how one counts it and depending on any given moment.
Well, it's very hard in the United Kingdom to know because, of course, rather bizarrely, the United Kingdom government doesn't count people coming and people going. So
No.
how anybody has any clue, other than sort of anecdotal, and the fact that you, wherever, in certain parts, as you were saying, or in certain parts of England, in certain towns, you do find lots of Polish folk.
Yeah.
And you know, you have sort of found lots of Polish parish priests and sort of other
very welcome, absolutely,
very welcome people, given the inability of the English to produce Catholic priests. But that's a slightly different.
That is
going slightly off topic.
Yeah.
They're very very welcome, of course. But yes, I think it must be looking at it from a Polish perspective, because this is what the government have often said. Please come back because we need the talent. We've educated people, and they've sort of chosen to make their life elsewhere, and that I think it must be very frustrating.
Definitely.
And you have these small towns, of course, where sort of all the young people with talent have gone, either to Warsaw or to the bigger cities, or indeed more problematic perhaps to the United Kingdom, Germany, and other countries. And I don't see that's likely to change in the future.
No, and though apparently 100,000 Poles have. The number of Poles in the United Kingdom has decreased by about 100,000 in the past 2 years, if the latest studies are to be believed. How that was measured, I don't know. That was a report I read on recently that suggested that Poles are returning. But as you say, I believe that many of the people who left after 2004, the period of time that has passed, obviously the very fascinating thing is to look at how the status of Poles in the United Kingdom has changed since 2004, from arriving as and having mainly fairly low-paid jobs. The Polish migration has really increased its status in the United Kingdom, and the perception of Poles definitely has also changed. I think they've very much cracked that middle-class aspect of British society, which is obviously a wonderful thing for those people who have chosen to leave, but it suggests their return is less and less likely, which I think is a very sad thing. But I understand why they have chosen to make their lives there.
And historically, though, we've had some quite eminent Poles in the United. I mean, the one everybody thinks, of course, is Joseph Conrad. Joseph Conrad. I mean, so this is probably heresy on this programme, but I find him impenetrable in English. His style of English I just find very, very hard to get to grips with. And I read quite a lot, but there's just something about his English. I just find it's sort of rather hard to wade through.
I reread Heart of Darkness quite recently, which I thought was very wonderful. As you say, there are easier things to read. For someone who learnt English when I think he was 19,
no, I'm not disputing. He's a far greater linguist than I will ever be.
A wonderful, I mean, a very impressive linguist. The fact that he a second language and really, but as you say, no, I can understand that he's not to everyone's taste.
No.
But definitely I think Poles have made generally a positive contribution in the United Kingdom. But from a Polish perspective, I would like the Poles to return. I think that, and for that to happen, I believe that in fact Poland must learn from primarily the tax regimes and the bureaucratic systems of the United Kingdom and other places where Poles have chosen to go. Because in many cases I don't think they've pursued, I mean, social transfers have been one of the main policies of the Polish government at the moment, but I believe that one of the main reasons they left wasn't for social transfers.
No, I think it's particularly younger people starting out, it's the complication. They want to run a business here.
No, it's a difficult thing to do.
Very, compared to, say, running a business in the UK.
Yeah.
Even simple things like filling in a corporation tax return, if you have a little company, or filling in a tax return, or anything, or filing things with the company's registry. In England, the UK now, it's so blissfully simple. And straightforward and quick and efficient and costs you virtually nothing. I mean, that's the other point.
It is.
Whereas here, you do get involved in a far greater degree of bureaucracy.
Though it is getting simplified. And also, I mean, to perhaps finish this on a happier note, the situation in Poland is nowhere near as tragic as, say, Bulgaria, where in the past few years, 1/4 of the population has left, which is an astounding statistic. I mean, 1/4 of the Bulgarian population has packed up and left.
If you think of a quarter of a population leaving, that's something you normally associate, say, with a country which has been torn by famine and plague and warfare, and everybody's had to just move.
Absolutely. No, but this is
Europe.
A country in the European Union where 1/4 of the people have packed up and left. I mean, astounding. And in Poland, I mean, after all, we have a terrible demographic situation, but nonetheless, I mean, 1/4 of our population has not left.
Closer to 10%, probably.
Probably, which isn't. I mean, it's not
it's still quite a huge number.
It's more than one would like, but it's not 1/4 yet.
Yes, but as you say, the conditions here are improving, so that's probably
substantially.
So the rise. So there's probably less urge for people to leave, which is probably a positive note on which to end this section. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you, Nicholas. Thanks.
Hello, everybody, and just as promised, we have come in, and Dagmara has a surprise for me and for you. We're going to meet
2 ladies that live here.
The 2 ladies that live here?
Yes.
Hello, 2 ladies who live here. Can we meet you, please?
Yes.
Yes, don't be shy. Come on.
Don't be shy.
You can see that they live here because they are dressed in a very peculiar fashion to us. We're stepping back in time. About 100 years ago, 90 to 100 years ago, in the pre-war period. And these 2 ladies, what are your names?
Agnieszka.
Agnieszka is a good Polish name. And?
Zosia.
And Zosia, another good Polish name. What a surprise, they are Polish. They should have Polish names. If you had said, my name is Catherine, I would have been surprised. But it's not. And have you lived, did your family live in this house? I don't know if they're going to play the role or not. We have to see.
No,
tell us.
no.
Dagmara will speak for you. She is the PR person.
No, they just take care of our manor house. So they work here, but today there is a special occasion, especially for you. They dressed up in this way. So they present late 30s of the 20th century.
The style, yeah?
Yes.
And very good it is, too. Very elegant ladies. Thank you very much for waiting for us. and for dressing up in such a wonderful fashion. It's amazing.
Yes,
Thank you.
It's really amazing.
You look superb. Yeah. And we see in this room, this is the main entry room to the house, right?
Yes, yes, the main entry room.
They ran away. I didn't say that. I didn't say you could leave. No, okay.
The hall, and when we look around, we can see a lot of trophies. It's kind of a sign that a forest that that our owner used to had were wealthy in wildlife.
Yeah, he was hunting a lot. Yeah.
Yes.
As people did, and especially
it was a tradition.
Especially the upper class people were.
They spent, for
with
example,
land.
free time hunting. For
Hunting
example.
and shooting.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Sounds like an interesting life. Yeah. So we are going to see. How many rooms did you say were here?
12.
Are we gonna
12
see,
rooms.
Are you going to show all 12 rooms?
We will see.
Is it upstairs? If we're good, it's. I like that. We'll see if you deserve it. Are we going upstairs as well?
No, we stay at this level.
But there is an upstairs.
There is an attic.
There's an attic only. Yes. That's interesting. So we have high ceilings, and basically everything's on one floor. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. Very nice. Okay. So are you about ready to? Okay. Stay tuned for the next installment where we're going to show you this incredible manor house. Fascinating.
Fascinating.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dagmar. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Poland Daily Travel. In this series of episodes, we will be showing you the city of Lublin. That's right, Lublin, the great city east of the Wisła River in Poland, otherwise known as the Vistula River, that is. Lublin's an amazing city. It's really quite a fantastic place to stop off. Absolutely dripping with history and fun. It is the 9th largest city in Poland. It is the capital and center of the Lubelska province. And it's about 170 kilometers southeast of the capital, Warsaw. It was the Polish-Lithuanian Union in 1385 that really put Lublin on the map, on a strategic route between Krakow and Vilnius. The Lublin Parliament of 1569 created an actual union between Lithuania and Poland. It was the Lublin Parliament of 1569 that actually united Lithuania and Poland politically. So we're going to be getting an all-round view of the city. We're going to the Museum of Lublin in the countryside. This is a fantastic and captivating living museum of the way life was in the region 100 and more years ago, focusing particularly on the interwar period. That's the period from 1919 to 1939. We'll also go to the Royal Castle in Lublin, and we'll check out the Holy Trinity Chapel with some of the most, well, breathtaking frescoes you're going to see anywhere in Europe. We'll stroll through the old town and comment on its captivating Jewish history. Catholics and Jews lived side by side in Lublin in Lubelski province for hundreds of years. It was a peaceful and fruitful cooperation. We'll also take a look at a brewery which is at the center of the development of the economics in the province, and we'll take a look at the museum and see how beer is and was made. And lastly, but not least, we'll head to a onion bread bakery, and we're going to go through the ritual of how you make onion bread, a staple product along with beer in this region. All in all, you're going to find this an extremely rewarding trip to Lublin, and we hope that you'll see it in a light that you've never seen it before. Poland Daily Travel, Why do we do it? We do it for you. We promise you nothing but the best. Lublin, past, present, and future with Poland Daily Travel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Poland Daily Travel. Finally, I found a place where I could sit down because Dagmara and Bogna have made us really work today, seeing this beautiful place here at the museum, Wsi Lubelskie. It's an amazing living museum, and they've really pulled out all the stops for us, and we're very, very pleased that they did that for us and for you, our audience. It's well worth visiting here when you come to this part of the world, and that is Lubelska. And with me is Dagmara. We are sitting at my desk because I've decided I'm moving into this place, and you will never get rid of me. No, you can see why it's a nice place, right?
Yes, it's a nice place.
Yeah. What's the decor? Wait a second, somebody. Hello? Hello? No, nobody there. I can remember, remember the old days when you had to dial the phone to take a picture?
Yes, I still remember.
Yeah, it was different, yeah. But this stuff is from the 1930s, isn't it?
Please remember that the interior presents us a really important date. It's August 1939, just before Second World War. Okay. So even when you see when we look at, we see the date, August 31st.
Yeah.
31st.
Yeah. And so everything is recreating this last moment before the invasion by the Nazis, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, which was a battle that took place over several weeks, yeah? This is signifying the end of one world and,
yes.
and a transition into something very uncertain and apocalyptic, right? Yeah. So this whole place is dedicated to that moment in time.
Yes, it's true. Yeah. Each of the room presents a 1930.
Mm-hmm. And this would be the study, obviously, right? So the man of the house would have sat here and looked through his ledger books and decided how much money he owed and who he had to pay and what the crops were.
It's the accounting book.
Yeah, this is the accounting book, yeah. It looks like it. I see numbers here anyway. Yeah. I can't really read what it says because I don't have my reading glasses on, but that's interesting. And we see all the sort of things of the time. I'll just show this, a pair of sort of reading glasses from that time.
But please be careful.
Yeah, I'm being careful, yeah. Which is kind of cool. It looks like John Lennon would have worn these a bit later. Yeah, very nice. And what's this, a quill pen? Yeah, no, ink pen. Yeah, okay. Not a quill, that's from the 18th century. Yeah, so very good. And pictures, of course, of family. He would have had pictures of the family there. And just the normal sort of masculine things you would find in the study, right?
It's true. This room was also a place where men used to meet. They, for example, played cards.
I was just thinking that's a great place to play cards.
There was smoking. That's why we have a special table with cigarettes and stuff used for it.
Yeah, it's great. I like this room a lot. Well, what's the next room we're going to see?
We're going to see a room of a boy. Young boy, and also a living room, and a bedroom, and also I suppose it will be a dining room. And very interesting is a black kitchen. I will say later. That's why it is black.
Okay, we'll wait to find out. Stick with us. More to come.